For almost the entire span of human history, wolves were the thing you feared in the dark. Picture yourself alive 30,000 years ago. You're slow, you're soft. You have no claws worth mentioning, and your night vision is a joke compared to the animals hunting around you. When the wolves start calling to each other after sundown, it isn't background noise, it's a warning. Those animals move in coordinated packs. Their jaws can crush bone. They can run longer than you, smell you before you know they're near, and see in a darkness that leaves you blind. So here's the part that should stop you cold. Out of every animal our ancestors ever crossed paths with, this is the one that curled up next to us. Not the horse, not the cow, not even our fellow primates. The wolf. There are now more than 900 million dogs on the planet. They sleep in our beds. They sniff out explosives and lost hikers. They herd livestock, pull sleds, comfort the grieving, and wear tiny paper hats next to birthday cakes while we take photos. And not one of them was part of a plan. No group of humans ever gathered around a fire and decided, let's design a loyal, fluffy animal that fetches sticks. Dogs weren't invented. They happened. And the eeriest detail of all is that wolves may have started turning themselves into dogs before we had any idea it was happening. To see how, you have to go back to the Ice Age. Roughly 20,000 to 40,000 years ago, humans survived as hunter-gatherers. Little groups of maybe 20 to 50, walking endlessly across vast, frozen country in search of the next meal. It was a merciless way to live. Most hunts came back empty. Winter picked people off one by one. A single bad break, a leg, an infection, could be a death sentence. And just past the reach of the firelight, in the black beyond the camp, the wolves were watching. Now, one detail matters more than any other here. Humans are sloppy. Even people on the edge of starvation leave a mess behind. Cracked bones, gristle, hide, half-finished carcasses. To a wolf, a human camp wasn't a threat. It was a slow-moving buffet of free calories. In the beginning, they must have crept in carefully. The reckless ones pushed too close and caught a spear. The most terrified ones hung back so far they starved out there in the cold. But in every wolf population, there were always a few oddballs. A little less jumpy, a little less snappish, a little more curious than the rest. Modern genetics hints that some wolves were simply born more at ease around people, and generation after generation, those were the ones who ate. Why gamble your life bringing down dangerous prey when you could just shadow a band of humans and clean up their scraps? So evolution went to work, quietly sorting wolves by temperament. Friendly got fed, calm got to stay close, vicious got killed or driven off. And after enough generations of this, the animals didn't just act different, they started to look different. I know that sounds made up, but we've actually watched a version of it unfold in real time. In 1959, a Soviet scientist named Dmitry Belyaev began an experiment in Siberia with foxes. He wanted to crack the mechanics of domestication, so his method was almost absurdly simple. In every generation, he let only the tamest, least fearful foxes breed. That was the whole trick. No training, no teaching, no tricks or rewards. Just the gentlest ones become the parents of the next batch. Within a few decades, the foxes were behaving like dogs. They wagged their tails. They whimpered for attention. They licked the hands of the people who fed them. And then the truly strange thing happened. Their bodies changed along with their behavior, even though nobody was selecting for looks. Ears went floppy, snouts got shorter, Splashes of white appeared in their coats. Tails began to curl. It turns out this is a pattern that shows up across species. As animals grow tamer, they tend to drift towards softer faces, smaller jaws, patchy coloring, and droopier ears, almost as if gentleness and cuteness are wired together. Which means the earliest proto-dogs probably started looking less frightening long before any human deliberately shaped them. Imagine standing in an Ice Age camp and noticing that some of the wolves nearby seemed a bit smaller, a bit softer, a bit less menacing than the ones farther out in the dark. Not pets, but not entirely wild anymore either. And this likely wasn't a one-time event in one lucky valley. Across huge stretches of the ancient world, humans and wolves were probably drifting into these arrangements at the same time. Quietly, for thousands of years, with nobody realizing they were watching a new kind of animal take shape right beside the fire. The payoff for humans came fast. Wolves hear things we can't, long before we can. They catch scents from distances that seem impossible. They read a trail like a map. A wolf lingering near camp was a living alarm system. Bear approaching? The wolves reacted first. Strangers on the horizon. The wolves knew prey moving nearby. The wolves could point the way. Once each species started making the other safer, the whole relationship sped up. This is why the dog holds a strange title. The first animal humans ever domesticated. Before sheep. Before goats. Before we ever planted a single seed. And when farming finally did arrive, dogs shifted again to keep pace with us. As our diets filled up with grain, dogs gradually evolved a far better ability to digest starch than any wolf ever had. Sit with that for a moment. Dogs were already at our side before writing, before cities, before metal, before a single stone of the pyramids was cut. Over enough generations, we didn't just change each other's bodies. We started changing each other's feelings. When a person and a dog hold each other's gaze, both of them get a surge of oxytocin, the same chemical that floods a parent bonding with a child. Wolves don't do this with us. Dogs do. That soft, adoring stare your dog gives you isn't an accident of biology. It's biology that was sculpted to reach into the human heart. Dogs even developed facial expressions that we instinctively melt for. Those famous pleading puppy eyes may have spread simply because humans were quicker to care for the dogs whose faces they could read. Some researchers think dogs boosted human hunting so much that people with dogs outlived and outlasted people without them, that our four-legged partners may have helped us fan out and conquer the whole planet. But the bargain wasn't free. In gaining us, dogs lost a lot of the wild. Centuries of human breeding have left many modern dogs with serious problems. Pugs that can barely breathe, dachshunds prone to broken backs, bulldogs that often can't be born without surgery. And yet, underneath all of that, the wolf never fully left. When a dog turns in circles before lying down, it may be echoing ancestors who flattened tall grass into a bed. When it howls, buries a treat, or paddles its legs in a dream, it's running instincts tens of thousands of years old. Somewhere inside every trembling chihuahua and every wide-chested husky, the shadow of an Ice Age predator is still moving. Maybe that's why dogs feel different from every other creature we've tamed. Cats live near us. Cows tolerate us. Horses work with us. But dogs joined us. They lay down beside us while things with teeth prowled the dark. They crossed frozen wastelands at our heels. They stood watch over sleeping camps. They walked into our storms, our migrations, our wars, and onto every new continent we ever reached. And somewhere along that long road, it stopped being only about survival. In Germany, archaeologists uncovered a grave about 14,000 years old. Inside lay a man, a woman, and a dog laid carefully beside them. That dog had been gravely ill as a puppy, yet it survived the sickness by weeks or months, which means someone almost certainly nursed it through. Think about what that requires. Human beings scraping to stay alive in one of the harshest worlds imaginable chose to spend their scarce food, their time, and their energy keeping a sick animal alive. That's not usefulness, that's not a tool, that's attachment, friendship, maybe even love. For thousands of generations, we and dogs quietly rewrote each other's survival, all because a handful of wolves decided the fire wasn't quite as terrifying as it looked. There was no blueprint, no inventor, just leftovers scattered near a flame, a few wary animals drifting closer through the dark, and evolution slowly, patiently turning fear into one of the deepest partnerships our species has ever known. And tonight, your best friend will probably drift off to sleep somewhere near you, with absolutely no idea that this whole thing began tens of thousands of years ago. But now you do.